well, I'm just gonna try to start. I don't know. Some things might not work as expected, but inshallah, we will continue. God willing. Okay. So let's start go live. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure we're live, but let's start. No, I think it's not gonna start.
Live streaming is on.
Okay, now it says it's on. Okay. So hopefully that should resume anyways. Okay. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah, okay, we're on. Okay, so Salãmun Alaykum, everyone. So today we are going to be starting from 26 176. 26 176 Shwaib. The people of the woods disbelieved the messengers. Shwaib said to them, "Would you not be righteous? I am an honest messenger to you. You shall reverence God and obey me. I do not ask you for any wage. My wage comes only from the Lord of the universe. You shall give full measure when you trade. Do not cheat. You shall weigh with an equitable scale. Do not cheat the people out of their rights, and do not roam the earth corruptingly. Reverence the one who created you and the previous generations." They said, "You are bewitched. You are no more than a human being like us. In fact, we think you are a liar. Let masses from the sky fall on us, if you are truthful." He said, "My Lord is the one who knows everything you do." They disbelieved him, and consequently, they incurred the retribution of the day of the canopy. It was a retribution of an awesome day. This should be a lesson, but most people are not believers. Most assuredly, your Lord is the Almighty, most merciful. Um, so these verses basically tell us about the people of Shuaib, and what happened to them, and why they were being warned. And the reason was that the people of Shuaib actually were not being honest. They were dishonest people, and they were cheating people out of their rights and not being equitable when trading with the people. And I mean, this is something that we're being reminded of here, is to be honest with all the people, and especially when you trade or do business, or have any sort of transaction with other people, is that we should be absolutely honest and fair and equitable. And obviously, that's one thing that if you're not a believer, you will not be able to do, because being a believer means that you will trust God, and you'll know that He's the provider. And if you're honest and you observe God, God will provide for you more. And but obviously these people did not believe in that, and they were cheating people, because obviously they didn't realize that God records everything, and they didn't care about being equitable. But it's something that we see happen a lot every day. I mean, we've all been through situations where we might have to deal with someone who is either a disbeliever or a hypocrite or something like that, and we'll see them doing this to people, and that shows their lack of character, and obviously lack of belief in God and trust in God. And so this was the sole purpose of Shuaib being sent to a community right after the people of Lot. And the people of Shuaib, were just after the people of Lot, and they had seen that the people of Lot, when they didn't believe, what happened to them, and they're still so arrogant that they said to him that he was bewitched, he was a liar, and they demanded that God should, let masses of sky fall on them, you know, if they're truthful, and then naturally they were annihilated. And it says this should be a lesson, but most people are not believers. So this is a lesson for us. Obviously, uh, we're not gonna be annihilated like the people of Shuaib, but God picks and chooses who who deserves it when and at the time. Then you get your individual retribution and annihilation eventually. And so we should be very, very careful about that. And you know, I mean, God is reminding us of that. I mean, our provisions are guaranteed by God. They're decided by God, and we cannot advance them or make them less or more by doing something. We just have to remember that we're going through a test, and if we observe God's commandments, God will give us more. And time again, like we might come across offers or situations where the earned means of living might not be very ethical, or would be outright like deceptive and dishonest, and we just have to do the right thing, and inshallah God will reward us. So God willing, I will continue. Verse 192, the Quran. This is a revelation from the Lord of the universe. The honest spirit Gabriel came down with it to reveal it into your heart, that you may be one of the warners, in perfect Arabic tongue. It has been prophesied in the books of previous generations. Is it not a sufficient sign for them that it was known to the scholars among the children of Israel? So God tells us that the Quran is a revelation from Him, and Gabriel was the one, the honest spirit. Gabriel was the one who came down with it, and to reveal it into Muhammad's heart, uh, uh, so that he could be one of the warners in perfect Arabic tongue. Now, the reason why, and then it says it has been prophesied in the books of the previous generations. And so, if we look at the previous scriptures, we see that the prophecy of Muhammad as a prophet, was mentioned, and that he will only mention what God has commanded him to preach. He's going to do that, and this is actually mentioned. We can see that in Deuteronomy, Moses in 18:15, it says, "A prophet like me will the Lord your God raise up for you from among your kinsmen. To him you shall listen." And then Deuteronomy 18:18 to 19, it says, "I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their kinsmen, and will put my words into his mouth. He shall tell them all that I command him. If any man will not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I myself will make him answer for it." And then Jesus in John 14:16 through 17 says, "I will ask the Father, and he will give you another paraclete to be with you always, the Spirit of truth." This is Jesus in John 14:16 through 17. And Jesus in John 16:3, "When the Spirit of truth comes to you, he will guide you to all truth and will announce you the things to come." So Jesus in John 16:13. Anyways, so this was prophesied in the previous scriptures, and the Quran. God, when I read some more, It says the Quran must be translated. If we reveal this to people who do not know Arabic and had him recite it in Arabic, they could not possibly believe in it. We thus render it like a foreign language in the hearts of the guilty. Thus, they cannot believe in it until they see the painful retribution. Um, it will come to them suddenly when they least expect it. They will then say, "Can we have a respite?" Did they now challenge our retribution? As you see, we allowed them to enjoy for years. As you see, we allowed them to enjoy for years. Then the retribution came to them just as promised. Their vast resources did not help them in the least. We never annihilate any community without sending warners. Therefore, this is a reminder, for we are never unjust. Okay, so here we see a couple of things. Number one, God sent us the Quran in perfect Arabic tongue, and so we know the reason why Quran was revealed in Arabic is because God has made it a language that is extremely efficient in the delivery of laws, and this is actually mentioned in Appendix 4, and God is telling us here that uh, in this verse and in 41:44 that the sincere believers have access to the Quran regardless of their mother tongue. Disbelievers, on the other hand, are not permitted to access the Quran even if they're professors of the Arabic language. So, Arabic is the most efficient language in the world, especially when it comes to the precise statement of laws. Since the Quran is a statute book, it was crucial that such laws must be clearly stated. God chose Arabic for his final testament because the obvious reason that it is the most suitable language for that purpose. Arabic is unique in its efficiency and accuracy. For example, the word they in English does not tell you if they are males or females. In Arabic, there is a they for the males, hum, and the they for the females, hunna. There is even a they for two males, huma, huma, and they for two females, hatan. This feature does not exist in any other language in the world. And so you can find more on this uh, in Appendix 4, actually. So this describes why the Quran was written in Arabic. Now, the reason why people cannot understand it, even though it's in their native language, if they're Arabic speakers, is because they're not sincere and they decided that the Quran alone is not enough for them. So they're shielded and veiled from understanding it. Uh, and that's what it says. We thus rendered like a foreign language in the hearts of the guilty. So people who have decided to reject the messenger, or people who have decided to reject the message itself, for them, it just doesn't mean anything. They don't have access to it. They're only misguided because using the Quran to commit the most horrendous crimes and evil acts. But the believers, on the other hand, will recognize the truth whether they speak Arabic or not. They'll recognize it in their language, whatever their language is. They don't need to read it in Arabic, and that's why the Quran must be translated, because so that the people can understand it and they can apply it in their lives. Um, and and then for the disbelievers, we know that the day of resurrection will come suddenly, even if they live on that day. And then uh, also, for the disbelievers, the retribution comes suddenly. They're not expecting it, but it happens. And these people that were annihilated, for example, the people of Shuaib, they challenged God's retribution. They said, why don't we get the message from the sky? And then when it came to them, they were annihilated. Then obviously, they were stunned. So uh, that's why it's important for us to have our beliefs right, so we can understand the Quran better, and we should be righteous, because we see that the Quran is something that is not accessible by majority of people in this world. And I mean, majority of people in this world, first of all, they don't even read it, but those who do obviously still have no access to it. And they think that the Quran is too difficult for them to read, or a lot of them will just be stopped by reading the Quran because they're told they have to be in ablution and state, and this and that. Women can't touch it when they have their period, for example, and so many restrictions. So they just put the Quran somewhere in their home where they can't reach it, and they never read it. And the others who do obviously will not be able to understand because they upholding other sources besides the Quran, and they feel that they have to interpret the Quran using those sources, which are lies attributed to Muhammad, and it misleads them tremendously, and they're shielded because of it. So then, 26 to 10, I'm going to read. It says, false messengers incapable of preaching the worship of God alone. It says, the devils can never reveal this. Footnote, a false messenger is a messenger of Satan, for he is a fabricator of the most horrendous lie. Such a messenger can never denounce idolatry or preach the worship of God alone. They never would, nor could. The devils can never reveal this. They neither would nor could, for they are prevented from hearing. Therefore, do not idolize beside God any other God, lest you incur the retribution. So God is telling us that, first of all, false messengers are incapable of preaching the worship of God alone. So what does that mean? A false messenger is a messenger of Satan, and he's a fabricator of the most horrendous lies. So such a messenger can never denounce idolatry or preach the worship of God alone. So I mean, we have seen there are many messengers, and on the surface, they might tell you to worship God alone, right? But then what happens is once you dig deeper, obviously, they're actually telling you to idolize them because they're the ones who are contradicting the message of God and giving you the message from Satan, really. So that means you're idolizing Satan, besides God, and they cannot tell you to just worship God alone. I mean, any false messenger that comes in, any messenger, quote unquote, that we see has come, has not been able to tell people the truth. Their message is always away from the truth. There's some truth obviously mixed in, but then there's lies. And we have seen that with so many of these people. And this is what this is saying, that they can never preach the message of God alone because they're prevented from hearing the truth. And so therefore, we shouldn't idolize any other entity besides God. Obviously, these people are the most horrendous, uh, they're the most evil people because, I mean, God says we're more evil than those who fabricate lies about God, right? But then a false messenger is the worst of the worst of the worst because they are fabricator of the most horrendous lie. So it's a really big deal, and that's why we're surprised when we see people who claim to be vanguards of submission, for example, welcome these fake messengers into their communities and accept them as members of their community. That actually shows the hypocrisy, um, of and lack of reverence for God, because a true believer would never accept such a horrendous thing and such an evil thing being tolerated in their community, basically. But unfortunately, that's what it is. God's messenger of the covenant, verse 214. You shall preach to the people who are closest to you. Footnote, these verses refer to God's messenger of the covenant. The sum of the geometrical value of Rashad Khalifa 1230 plus the verse number 214 is 1230 plus 214 equals 1444, or 19 times 76, or 19 times 19 times 4, because 76 is also a multiple of 19. And the sum of the verse numbers from 214 through 223 is 2185, or 19 times 115. So these are all about God's messenger of the covenant. So you shall preach to the people who are closest to you, and lower your wings for the believers who follow you. If they disobey you, then say, I disown what you do, and put your trust in the Almighty, most merciful, who sees you when you meditate during the night and your frequent prostrations. He's the hearer, the omniscient. Shall I inform you upon whom the devils descend? They descend upon every guilty fabricator. They pretend to listen, but most of them are liars. As for the poets, they are followed only by the strayers. Do you not see that their loyalty shifts according to the situation, and they say what they do not do? Exempted are those who believe and lead a righteous life, commemorate God frequently, and stand up for their rights. Surely the transgressors will find out what their ultimate destiny is. Okay, so from 215 to 223, we see that it's talking about God's messenger of the covenant, as we saw in the footnote. And this is kind of like similar to what a believer should do also. We start by preaching to the people who are closest to us, our parents, our siblings, our families, um, and we kind of have to do the same thing. We if they don't listen, then and they decide to reject the truth, uh, then and then they become, let's say they become enemies, then we disown them, and we distance ourselves from such people if they fight us because of our religion. And we have to put our trust in God too, and we should meditate during the night and fall prostrate. um, Now, 221, shall I inform you upon whom the devils descend? They descend upon every guilty fabricator. So basically, they when the messengers come, like, they're accused of being bewitched, and obviously, like, they think that, when you're bewitched, and somebody has like put a spell on you or something like that, then they're influenced by the devils, and the devils are coming and giving you this information that they think you're fabricating lies. But God is telling us that the devils actually descend upon every guilty fabricator who pretend to listen, but most of them are liars. So people are inspired by them, and they get ideas from their companions, obviously, right? Every person has a jinn companion, and these people who go to hell, they have devils as their companions. They're not good jinns; they're the devils, and they mislead them, and they say all kinds of lies. Now, the title of the surah is poets, right? And this verse is actually talking about the poets, and it says, "As for the poets, they are followed only by the strayers. Do you not see that their loyalty shifts according to the situation, and they say what they do not do?" Okay, so this is portion is talking about poets who write stuff either about uh, other things in life in general, or it could even be about religion, you know, but obviously it would be not in accordance with the truth, like, for example, we see a lot of poetry that is not very Quranic, but then also there is poetry where, uh, you know, it's not actually guiding you to the truth, but they say these fancy and beautiful words that may sound very very nice, but they're actually deceptive and misleading, and make people go astray. And it's a way of playing with words and making it sound beautiful and attractive, but you're actually using it to mislead the person and from the right path. Like, for example, somebody could write a poem about not doing your prayers and just being good and just remembering God. I mean, and God is, let's say someone could write a poem, say, oh, God is on my mind all the day, for example. I'm paraphrasing, and I don't need to do my prayer. So somebody, and they could write it very beautifully, and the devils could help them, their devils could help them write that. And somebody who loves poetry and follows poets will actually read that and stop doing their contact prayer and say, well, yeah, I'm going to think about God and I'm not going to pray, right? But obviously, these are strayers. This is I guess one clear example I could think of, and there could be many other examples. And also, it says their loyalty shifts according to the situation. So, and we can see that, like, their loyalty shifts when they write about one thing and they're in, like, somebody could write a poem about someone that they love, and it's like everything for them, and then they could write about God and it's everything for them, or it could be about the president and or the king of their time, and they mean everything to them and they'll do anything for them and stuff like that. And it's just poetry, and it says they say what they do not do. So a lot of it is just poetry, like, so, like they write about, oh, I will go and fetch the stars for you and this and that. Well, you can't do that. And things like that, so they exaggerate and they just write about nonsense basically. But then there's an exemption, and it says exempted are those who believe, lead a righteous life, commemorate God frequently, and stand up for their rights. Surely the transgressors will find out what their ultimate destiny is. So those poets, I see that there's poets that are exempted from it. For example, a person who's following the truth and leading a righteous life and commemorating God frequently, and standing up for their rights, that kind of a person could write poetry, and it could be either about God or just even about standing up for their rights, um, or about leading a righteous life, or just commemorating God, right? And and that kind of poetry obviously is in complete accordance with the Quran. Like, just for example, like if you read the Psalms of David, kind of like similar type of content of poetry. So you would see that that would be in accordance with the truth and in accordance with the Quran, and those types of poets who will write about similar things obviously are exempt from this, and then obviously the people, and then we're all being reminded that surely the transgressors will find out what their ultimate destiny is. So I think this is something that we all have to keep in mind sometimes, because, like, we see people, for example, do all kinds of things in life, all kinds of mischiefs and cheating, and and they seemingly seem to enjoy and get away with everything, but eventually they're gonna pay, and they might enjoy temporarily, and they might think that they got away with it, whatever they're doing, but eventually they're gonna have to pay for all the decisions that they made, and all the choices they made. And you know So if you see the disbelievers, I mean, in your lifetime, you may even see the retribution that they incur. I mean, or you might not see it, but if you're alive, God will make sure that you see that their end is going to be bad, God willing. And God always rewards the righteous and guarantees victory and prosperity and success for the believers. So with that, I would like to end, and you guys can share your comments or questions.
Masha Allah. Thank you, Salman, for a good Quran study.
Thank you, Masha Allah.
Masha Allah, Salman. Good Quran study.
Thank you.
So I have a question. What do you mean by what does it mean by day of canopy?
On top, like
Live
on the
streaming
tent,
is on.
to, like, give you shade and stuff like that. So I think these people were annihilated. When these people were annihilated, I think they were, if I'm not mistaken, like, God turned. They had an earthquake or something. Not an earthquake. Um, uh, Something similar.
It says, 187, let masses from the sky fall on us if you are truthful. So I think they have we have like events that we celebrate yearly or something. So maybe they have some sort of event, could be possible, and these masses were coming from the sky, and because that's what they use to protect themselves or something, maybe, I guess.
Hmm. Mhm. The retribution of the day of the canopy. It doesn't say on the day of the canopy, but that was the retribution of the day of the canopy, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Or it's possible the way God is describing came from the sky, so it maybe look like showering in such a form like clouds and something like became a canopy. Or could be possible. But in anyhow, we should learn that it's one of many kind of retribution that God can send to us. Instead of worrying about what kind of retribution is it, we should obey God.
Yeah, actually, Sodom and Gomorrah were the ones who were turned upside down and showered it with hard, devastating rocks. But Shuaib were the people of the woods, and it doesn't specify what kind of retribution they incurred.
So if they were people of the woods, one of the meaning I think of canopy is a protective covering such as the uppermost spreading branchy layer of a forest. Would that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe you're saying that they had these things that fell on them?
So there's three definition of there's definition of canopy. Canopy is a cloth covering
Mm-hmm.
suspending over a bed.
Mm-hmm.
Second meaning is a cover fixed or carried above a person of high rank or a sacred object.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a canopy hung over an altar. And the third meaning is a protective covering, such as one, the uppermost spreading branchy layer of a forest. And then another example of a canopy can be an awning. So if there are people of the woods, would that be the more a fitting description? The uppermost spreading branchy layer of a forest?
Well, I didn't understand what you meant.
I mean, maybe I think what you're trying to say is that they were expert in wood crafting and their houses and building, that they were so good in it that they think that these things will protect them, and they're masters of this.
Oh,
Um,
so you,
did you say that Celeste people were of the woods?
yeah.
Okay, so then I thought that if they were of the woods and they live in those kind of places, one of the meaning of canopy is the uppermost spreading branchy layer of a forest. It's just a
Okay.
thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would that make the day of the canopy?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm just seeing that
Okay.
of the day of the canopy, maybe because they asked, let masses from the sky fall on you. If you're truthful,
Mm-hmm.
because they were of the woods, maybe the canopy was what is explained, the uppermost spreading branchy layer of the forest. Maybe that's what fell on them.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the people of Shoaib.
But he
Yeah,
said,
Shoaib. Yeah, Shoaib were the people of the woods.
oh, Shoaib was the people of the woods. Okay. So this is Saleh. This is yeah, Shoaib. Yeah, Shoaib. Yeah. Oh, so in verse 193, it says, I seek refuge in God from Satan to reject it. It says the honest spirit, Gabriel, came down with them, with it. And so so if someone, anyone can explain. Actually, in Christianity, right, a lot of people when they talk about the Trinity, um, they talk about the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so when they talk about the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and they say three in one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they so in that case, are they referring to it like how we call Gabriel the Spirit? Is that how they're referring it when they say three in one?
I thought three in one was the Mary, Jesus, and God.
No, three in one is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Oh,
Or Holy Spirit, yeah.
okay. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I always wanted to know what they consider the Holy Spirit. Although I was a Christian, I never knew what they consider to be the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the Holy Spirit, right? I mean, that's what they consider it to be too.
Gabriel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thanks, someone.
No problem. Also, God talks about 785. Oh yeah, I was right. They had an earthquake. This is in Surah Surah 7 verse 91. It says the quake annihilated them, leaving them dead in their homes.
That's the people of Shoaib.
Yeah.
Then, so I guess then when it says retribution of the day of canopy, it's not something falling from the sky.
Well, they had an earthquake, so basically, I mean, whatever, if they had stuff made up or whatever, I mean, that all of that, got destroyed with them in it. So maybe it became like everything covered them like a canopy,
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like to verse 200. It's like we could see that we can actually see that we thus render it like a foreign language in the heart of the guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And we see today that the Arabs, this is their language, and they don't understand the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Solomon, thanks for explaining that the verse 224.
No problem.
Yeah, it's where the poets they're followed only by the strayers. Yeah, I did not, I didn't even catch it. You read that one and so look at the poets. But here, the next verse, it said, "Do you not see that their loyalty shifts according to the situation?"
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here, I would assume that people who are following the poets are listening to, people who are making stuffs out. That's what I would think, that the follower of those people, correct?
Mm-hmm. You're right. Well, also the poets, they say what they do not do.
Yeah. So here's that. It seems like probably the both parties then, the poets and the people, the followers of the poets.
I see. Yeah, it's possible. I always, when I read it in the past, I always looked at it as if it were talking about the poets.
Okay.
Because it says the poets, they're followed by the strayers, and they're loyal. Do you not see that their loyalty shifts according to the situation? So I still see that as talking about the poets.
Okay.
Because it's about the poets. And the surah is titled the poets. So,
and I guess technically, the who are following the poets, they have to be probably the kind of similar,
right?
Standing our mind.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you have someone whose loyalty shifts according to the situation, and then you have someone who's following him, then both of them will be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. They're similar.
Yeah. Thanks.
The reason why I remembered they were annihilated by the earthquake is because I think I remember in one of the audio recitations that I recorded, I put the sound effect of earthquake with them. Somehow I remembered that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you work with something long enough, it sticks with you. Eh? No,
Yeah.
that's the good part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this thing about people cheating each other, I mean, I've spent, most of my career, like, working for other people, doing jobs, like, or contract work, but, the last 1 year or so, like, I, has been trying to do my own thing. And I realized in that time, like, how dishonest people are and how they will cheat you. And, it's like the Wild West. People, are looking for ways to get away with whatever they can, and you just have to do everything to protect yourself from, these kinds of people. But, I mean, God is the ultimate protector, but, we have to make sure that, we cover everything from all angles. But, people are extremely dishonest, and, just reminds me of the verse that God says when people combine their properties, when David said, most of the people, they're unfair to each other. And yeah, maybe I'll shed more light on it later.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm.
Yeah, especially when I go out to the world, and it seems
Mm.
like the more shortcut you can take, then you're a more smarter person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, know a story of 181. This is like a personal experience. There's this vendor who gives full measure and
Mhm.
charges X dollar.
Mhm.
And then there's another vendor who lessened the measure and charges less dollar. However, say for example, I sell a pound of something for $5, and then there's another vendor who sell 7/8 of a pound for $4.50, right? And
Mhm.
people do this in trade. And so
Mhm.
what automatically happens is the person who's buying, they think they're getting a full pound at a lower price. And then the vendor who does that, people flock to their store.
Mhm.
This is actually, yeah, this I know in real life. This
Right,
happens.
right. Like Costco, you mean?
No, not Costco. Not Costco. Costco is my children's favorite go-to store for samples.
Okay. So, like, if you buy more, you get a better deal. They make it sound like if you buy more, you're getting a better deal and more value.
Yeah, probably per dollar costs you less, but you buy in bulk.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
that's not what I was saying. Two vendors. This is things I know personally. Two vendors.
Uh-huh.
One is selling 7/8 of a pound for $4.75,
Uh-huh.
and the other vendor and that vendor is claiming it's a pound.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And the other vendor is selling a full pound for $5.
Okay, okay.
Really,
And
the
they're
price.
going to the one who's selling it for less, thinking they're
The
getting.
one who's cheating on the weight gets
Uh-huh.
small pieces. Yeah. Gets small.
Okay.
But
And the-
still misleading, both of them.
Well, one of them is misleading because they're not giving the full pound, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And
but the other one is charging a lot more. That is not also right, right?
No,
No,
he's just charging for the full pound.
that's right. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, these things happen every day, actually.
Mm.
Yeah, it was very common back home when they weighed. They've changed their what you call those, the thing they use for measure,
Mhm.
and they tweet with it so that they'll, you get less.
Mhm. And they put
And
other
sometimes,
things,
sorry.
you put other things in it, like if they're selling grains or something, they put sand in it and rocks and.
Right. It makes a lot of stuff in there. So in any form, if you are cheating, it doesn't matter which way it is,
Mhm.
it's misleading. And I would even think that even if you even work,
Mhm.
you work for a company, and if you don't do your job, what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
doesn't it that also is
Yeah,
cheating?
of course, yeah. Any sort of, like, it says cheating, dishonesty, condemned. So you're being dishonest at your work.
Right.
You're not being equitable. I mean, we cannot all be like 100% of the time. For example, you're expected to work 8 hours a day, right? So
Yeah.
you cannot all be 100% 8 hours a day. Just be focused like on your work and
Right.
look around. I mean, but we have to be equitable still, like within reason.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
I think with a righteous person, their conscience kicks in, and they know when they're cheating or they're not cheating.
Mhm.
Like someone said in IT, you get paid for 8 hours, but are you like literally working in and out 8 hours? And then the answer is no. But you're getting your work done.
Mhm.
That's one of the Messenger of the Covenant. One place that's where the charity, the zakat, plays a big role, because you can never be equitable with your work. So when you pay charity, it kind of balances out your negatives, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. If you're sleep, like he says first, because you might be sleeping on the job.
Right.
That's true. So
If you play by the book, like if you're working on the like specific job by a book, you have to be like do 10 things, and exact has to be done in that same way. But we are human. There's no way we can operate at the maximum level, so there's going to be some things missing.
Yeah,
But in general, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, exactly. Usually when they estimate your time and stuff like that, they estimate it by, like, say you're working 6 hours in a day.
Right.
You know, so, like, for example, if someone wants to estimate like how long it's gonna take to get this stuff done, like how many days, they're gonna count, even though they know you'll be working 8 hours. They're counting your time really as 6 hours in the day. Because they take account for these things, like, these are normal.
And we can see nowadays the society we live in, especially I'm not talking about Western countries, but a lot of other countries, there's a lot of cheating goes on as far as money. And not only that, a lot of other crimes have been committed.
Why not Western countries? The Western countries doing it really well.
Well, the thing is that I normally see that when I go buy something at grocery store, everything pretty much, they don't cheat on you. You're buying something, you pay what you get what you pay for. But the place I grew up, there's a lot of cheating openly. You have to pay. Even you go to the office, you have to get your driver license. You have to pay. You have to get a passport. You have to pay. If cops pull you over, you can just pay them. We call it the bribery, rishwat.
Yeah.
And so it's openly corrupted stuff going on, which here does not happen.
Yeah, but it does. There's still all humans too. Like here it happens on a much bigger scale and much
Hmm.
sophisticated. Uh, and but obviously they don't. It doesn't happen openly. The difference over there, it's out in the open, right? So everybody's. It's like how you see things like adultery and stuff like that happens here in the open, but over there it's happens behind closed doors. And
Right.
here it's the same way with corruption. So it's
Right.
behind closed doors and people don't know about it because the society doesn't accept it. Social is not socially accepted that way. But over there it's acceptable to people, to be that way. So they do it openly and without any shame. But here they do it. But I mean, look at it. Look at our political system and everything. It's completely messed up right now. But they're doing it in a very sophisticated manner. You know,
Right. That's true.
but yeah, I mean, comparatively speaking, obviously, I mean, there's corruption from like top to bottom, and most of these countries, they're Islamic countries. Like if you look at
Yeah.
the most corrupt countries in the world, most of them are Islamic countries. Like there was a time like I remember Nigeria was number one, and then Pakistan was number two, and I think um, India was like number 10 or something. But I think even if you look right now, most of them are Muslim countries. Corruption Perceptions Index is something that has this. So if you look at the rankings for, well, yeah, I think they're in the reverse order. So look at the bottom. Okay, you see, yeah, Somalia, South Sudan, Syria, Yemen, Sudan, Afghanistan. These are the most corrupt countries. So most of them are Muslim countries, right? Libya. There's also Venezuela and North Korea and some other countries, but most of these, Turkmenistan, Iraq, most of them are Muslim countries. Nigeria, Iran.
Yes. And then on top of that, the religious freedom is not there. This is another blessing we have. We can practice
Yeah.
however you want. And you don't have to openly participate because over there, you have to pay the money. Otherwise, your work cannot get done and you get
Yeah.
stuck in a situation. Here, you in your little life, you can obey God in perfectly manner without, doing anything wrong. Masha Allah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, do you think there are people over there that are forced by circumstance to be?
Some situations, like if you have to open a business, sometimes you have to pay money, a certain this and that. You're working in office, and they will tell you to do something wrong. Things like that. You come across situations where you're forced to do. I don't know how it is now, but before it was a lot of things that you have to unethical stuff. Probably, I guess. I see a lot of movies and dramas. This is what happens.
Yeah.
I also want to make a comment on this verse. It says the subheading says the Quran must be translated. It's verse number 198. If you reveal this to people who do not know Arabic, and and had him recite it in Arabic, they could not possibly believe in it. He thus rendered it like a foreign language in the of the guilty. So this is really critical for anybody who's listening or can give a message to somebody that we grew up in a culture where we only read Quran in Arabic, and in Ramadan we will just read the whole Quran in Arabic. We used to go to Taraweeh and we listen to the Quran in Arabic, not knowing what it's saying. It's just we're just standing there and the Imam is reading. When something tragic happens, and we do Quran Khani and all that stuff, and people just read one para and stuff like that, and go home and not knowing what they exactly read. This Quran is magnificent in its meaning, and Masha Allah, we've been doing Quran studies, and every verse we read, we get so much, we absorb like a dry sponge, the message and the knowledge and wisdom that comes from these verses. And that is the key. Like, let's not even go far. Like this surah number 26, these different prophets and messengers are talking about, and the problems they had in the community, and how they rejected, and how God gave them the message, keep on rejecting, and then the retribution came. Learning, so much learning. I mean, imagine you in college and you are studying maybe physics, and if your books are in German language and you only speak English, and you don't know what they're talking about, do you think it's going to give you any benefit? You read your book every day, maybe even, but you're not going to understand anything unless either you learn German and then you understand, or translate the German into your own language, so that way you can understand the physics. So it's not the knowledge, I mean, it's not the language, German or English, it's the knowledge that is in. So the Quran, it's not the language, it's the what meaning in it. So you translate in your own language and try to understand. I mean, the day I started reading Quran in my language, and that's where all the doors starts opening, right and left. So and the understand starts sinking in. The red flags start popping up right and left. The mistakes that I was doing, they are becoming more and more visible. So it's critically important for anybody who's listening or can understand this, that, no matter, you don't even have to, I won't even push you to read the final testament. I mean, you can pick up any Quran, and just in your own sincerity, if you want to be, if you don't even want to be sincere to God, at least be sincere to your own self, to read it and try to understand, and put 2 + 2 is equal to 4. That's the basic understanding. And if you're sincere, no matter where you are in the world, God will guide you. God will bring you to the right path. This is, as we understand from the Quran, this is the promise from God. If you're sincere and you're sincere with God, do you think God will let you go to hell if you're sincere with God? Of course not. He will find you a way, pathway in any way to bring you to the right path. That's my comment.
Masha Allah, Adam.
Yeah, and praise God. And then, like God says that we just render like a foreign language in the hearts of the guilty, as we learn from Surah 55, 50, that only sincere can access this Quran. So even if you're native Arabic, expert in grammar and everything, but if you're not sincere, this will become a foreign language for you. Yeah, mashallah, Salãmun, you explained very well on that false messengers. This is another criteria to judge a messenger, because they will never advocate worship God alone. They will, on the surface, it looks like worship God alone, but when you go deep into the message, you will find red flags. which we will see clearly that they are not advocating God alone. And Messenger of Covenant, any preaching that he's said in his videos and audios, Masha Allah, you will never find anything where he's preaching other than any other God or any. He only talks about Quran, Quran, and Quran alone. Masha Allah.
For verse 180 said, I seek refuge in God from Satan rejected. Verse 180 says, I do not ask you for any wage. My wage comes only from the Lord of the universe. So in traditional masjid, they do have a collection pot, and they walk around and pick up money, and sometimes they even guilt you into giving because it says, oh, that masjid is giving so much more, the people there, and things like that, which I find very bad. So they use that money to pay imam and to run the masjid. In context of the Quran, when it says, I do not ask for you any wage, my wage comes only from the Lord of the universe. So the part where they take money just to pay for lighting or some sort of utilities, that's okay, but not the part where they take it and they pay imam. Am I correct?
If, I think, first of all, my understanding is that is true for the messengers. They don't want anything for themselves. Secondly, yeah, of course, if you have a building that you are using it for worship, and there's been cost to run it, and so I don't know where else the money gonna come from. But other than that, even if people there are imams and all that stuff, I mean, most of people that are even traditional Islam, they even reject it. They said that they should not take money just to preach, be imam and stuff like that. They should get job. I mean, this is not I'm talking. This is the traditional masjid, traditional people. They used to say that these people should go get their job, and if they want to lead the namaz and all that stuff, you know, that should be on the side. But we had a mom that he will come in the morning, so they build a big house next to the mosque, and a lot of money collected is going to go. There were like actually 2 or 3 moms, and they had like 2 or 3 houses next to the mosque, and the money goes to them. And this imam has I'm not telling you his name, so I'm just going to tell you the facts. What happened there is like maybe 9 or 10 children, and then he will lead the Fajr prayer, and they'll go home and they'll stay there. Zohar time it comes and lead the Zohar namaz, and then go back. Sometimes he's not there, so anybody will get up and lead the Salat. So I don't understand where is the purpose of imam doing anything. I mean, the masjid can run without an imam, because people will just somebody will get up and lead the Salat. That's all. But he's been getting fed for I don't know what reason. So, and that's why people used to object that all these money that you are collecting, where it's going. And on the Ramadan, what happens is they used to have the like on Friday prayer, the sermon will be like well over an hour and a half, because after sermon, before the salat, the imam will try to ask, okay, we need $20,000 for electric bill. I need 10 people to stand up. 10,000, 1,000 each, 5,000 each, something like that, until it's like what you call this, where they do the they sell auctions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that kind of situation. He said 10 people for $10, I mean $1,000 each, 500 for 10 people, and people are raising their hands. And I mean, like, this is a mosque? And also, I would think that people also objected that why there's $20,000 a month electric bill. It would not cost 20,000. It's not a factory. All day long the lights are off. So where is that money going? People have a lot of objections to all this stuff they're collecting. So within their own community, people have problems with that. It doesn't cost that much to run a mosque. And there was an imam who will come on Friday. He will do the sermon, and I don't know how many thousand it will charge to do a sermon. And so I mean, there's a lot of money is going around. So at submission point of view, as we understand, we not even a messenger, and we would not want to take money. Like somebody says, can you lead Friday prayer? I'm not going to say that, give me $500. Of course not. I mean, that's actually a privilege for me to come and speak. I'm not going to ask money for that. If somebody say lead Zohar prayer, I'm not going to ask for money. Why would I ask money for that? What am I doing? I'm just leading a prayer. I mean, it's actually a privilege. So, and especially it's very critical for the messenger of the covenant, who is an actual messenger from God, to ask for any money at all in any way. I think this is my part.
Masha Allah, Adam. I actually, when we came to Canada, I saw firsthand the bidding war.
Oh yeah.
And the auction, and the kind of like, oh, that masjid made so much last month, how much are we gonna make this month, kind of thing. Such a turn off. Such a turn off. I don't know if people don't see a problem with that, but for me it was such a turn off. So as a traditional Muslim, I was a traditional, I think, for 2 years. Like, I did not find the one God, and I would go from masjid to masjid. We would go from masjid to masjid, and where we see that, we'll not go there again. And then we found one that was never did anything like that. Yeah. So although we were submitters and we did not know submitters existed, we were going to a regular masjid, but it was not like one of those. Yeah. But yeah, over the course of Canada for 2 years, we've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, Masha Allah. And they will even say that your zakat should go to the masjid or something first. That you need to pay your zakat. I mean, you're already getting so much money, and then you want the zakat to go to the masjid. That's crazy. I mean, I was in the same situation as you, that I learned about the submission. Mashallah, God guided me on through the internet and stuff, and I didn't even know if submitters still exist. And I was so attached and attracted to submission that I say to God, God, even if there's no submission left, shortly if I know that He's gone, and if there's no, I mean, I will follow your path until I found out there are submitters. And I used to go to the regular mosque, and believe me that I will not feel happy. I will try to, before I used to go even Fajr prayer, or get up in the morning, go to the mosque, drive over there, and then we do Quran study after that. And after I'm learning all that, I don't want to go there. My heart was like repelling me. And the day I learned from one of the Quran studies from the Message of the Covenant that we are not supposed to go to the mosque, I was so excited, like a kid jumping up and down. I'm not supposed to go there. I was so happy. I didn't want to go to the regular mosques.
Mashallah. I was never led to the Quran study or videos. No videos, no audios, no nothing. So for 13 years, we did not know that any of those exist. So we were going to regular mosque. However, it was not the typical mosque. It was
Right.
it was someone who bought he was a doctor and he bought the Japanese embassy,
Mhm.
and it was paid out full for. So they really never say, you have to give any kind of money. But as as a member, you use your
Mhm.
contents to know that you're using electricity, you're using water, so
Yeah.
you contribute on a yearly basis. But they did not do what the typical laws do.
Right. The day I heard the Quran, I mean, I was going through the Quran study one by one, and the day I heard those, they were talking about it, and I like, did they really say that? Let me go repeat, and I listened to it a few times until it really sank in my heart. And then when I was coming to submission, it was Ramzan time, and we would go to the mosque and do iftari, and then I just don't want to go inside. We're sitting outside, and there's a little garden area, and the kids were playing, and I'm so hesitant. My heart is just like saying, I don't. I just go in for there doing tarawih. Okay, so I don't know which rakat they were. I just go. Let me just go in when I feel bad. At the same time, sitting out here, I'm supposed to be in there, but my heart doesn't want to go in there. So I go in and I do the 2 rakat tarawih. Can you believe that was my last day in this in that mosque, in any mosque? The second rakat, finish the imam, the surah Hamim, one of the Hamim, and it says, translation of English is, all I remember is if it's Sabila Rashad, that your pathway is a Rashad pathway. That is the translation of Hamim, and that's where he went to ruku. And I got up, I said, this is the message from that your pathway is to follow the pathway of Rashad. And I left. He said, no wonder my heart doesn't want to go in there. It's
Wow.
resisting me to go in there. Masha Allah.
Mashallah. Mashallah. Yeah, you never know how people's gonna get the message.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alhamdulillah. The site Salman have is really good. So it is a site like that. Through submission.org, I actually got the message.
I'm sorry. I didn't get you. Okay.
Yeah, I got the message also through a website.
Website, yes. So, mashallah. Yeah, I didn't even know where people. There are people out there. I send emails to Masjid Tucson, not even thinking that there's somebody there who's reading my. And all of a sudden, I get an email back from them, and there are a couple of people actually in my town. And so they gave me the number. I called this person, and this person was Samira, and I'm just like jumping up and down. I'm keep asking, are you Samira? Are you really worship God alone? Really, really? And the person is like probably thinking, is this man crazy or what?
Yeah, same here. When I actually found submission in a very weird way. Submitters exist. It was through one of the guy who boasted that about Rashad killing that, and in his video, that's when I knew submitters exist. And then I start searching the internet, and then I found, yeah.
Mashallah. So I think I get a run because I gotta go back to job work. But I just want to make a quick comment about the this verse here. Let me see if I can find it. It's verse number 218 and 219 as well. Who sees you when you are meditating and your frequent prostration. So the meditation word is used a lot in the Quran, and God is encouraging us to meditate at night. And that God, this is the first time I see the word sees you, so that of course we know God knows our innermost thoughts. When God says He sees you, I mean that's even more personal. Like is actually observing you doing the meditation. That's a lot more, has a lot more value. Like you do in a contact prayer, you're in direct contact with God. And when you do meditate, just imagine if you sit down like midnight and do some meditation. You should have no doubt in your heart in any way that God is watching you. And this is just imagine when you are like online and the camera is on, and camera is on you, and you're speaking. You know very well the other person, or if you're talking to a lot of people, you know they are seeing you. You have no doubt that they're not seeing you. Similar way, you should know that there's a camera, suppose there's a cell phone, and the camera is on you, and the God is watching you, and you can imagine it in your head. There's no doubt in that part that it's that God is not watching you. God is watching you, just like we can take the web camera and take it so much. Another part is that I have seen people. I have this one person who does meditation on the regular basis, and this person doesn't want to mention the name, but that emphasizes that, that says that it's very powerful. If you, like last Quran study, Steve were asking how to become reverence about the day of resurrection. And at that time, I didn't remember to say, but read this verse if Steve would read it. It's very important if you can make some time to meditate at night. I've seen this person going through some visible miracles that just can blow somebody's mind away. The recharging that happens to this person, like you become so spiritually strong when you meditate at night. It's like your battery from 0 to 100%. And then this person says it will last for like a few days, but this person meditates more frequently, sort of like become, you can say, like addiction to the meditation. And this person does not read and just close our eyes and just isolate himself or herself into a room and just distract. But this person is just reading, thinking in his mind, sometimes doing some work, but meditating, focusing on God, and a lot of time mostly reading Quran. And so according to this person is that it just really recharges your spirituality in like multiplication of folds, like just we can't even imagine. And sometime this person stays all night, and around 3 or 4, 5 o'clock, the level of emotion is so strong that this person says that small things can make him cry for no reason. Just he will read the verse, and during the day this verse will not even move him, but at nighttime this verse will just start crying for no reason. So just because I've seen this stuff, so just to throw it out to people that if you want to, there's a lot of, I'm not saying that it's required or I don't understand, but there's meditation at night. It's really empowers you and you can read in the Quran many places God is talking about meditation is so much benefits of meditation. God give you a special place if you do meditate at night. So something to share. As far as somebody was asking the Messenger of the Covenant about meditation, so he explains that from Maghrib to Isha is like 2-3 hours, and from dawn to the sunrise there's another 2 hours. So if you spend that time meditating, that will cover a lot of your night too. But it just all depends if we are using that time to meditate or not. Something to think about. I'm sorry.
Thanks for sharing, Adam.
You're welcome, Masha Allah. So inshallah, I'll see you guys later on Saturday. I gotta run. Salãmun Alaykum.
Walaikum salam. Salman, are you going to go offline now?